Yes, yes, yes. I had to put on this shirt for this review because this is a very special review for me to do. And I'm very excited to be doing this review for this show. What's going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for another retro WrestleMania review as we are closing down. After this review, we will only have 3 more reviews left in my retro WrestleMania review series. And I'm very excited to be wrapping this up and very excited to be talking about this WrestleMania, WrestleMania 30. Now, this WrestleMania, despite me watching WrestleMania 17, 14, 19, 21, even 28 too, because 28 for some reason is a WrestleMania I really enjoy. This WrestleMania will still, until something else miraculously happens, this WrestleMania will always be, as far as I can consider, my favorite WrestleMania of all time. WrestleMania 30. It is the second WrestleMania I ever watched. As last year, WrestleMania 29 was the first one I ever watched. But this was the first WrestleMania I watched where I was actually very familiar with the WWE product. And it's like I was familiar with how things were ran, how things were built up and whatnot. And of course, it was the year, well, I still always will be, where I was hot on Daniel Bryan winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. As this is, I bought this shirt, I'd say either the summer 2014 or summer 20. I can't remember when I bought this shirt, but this was the first ever piece of WWE merchandise I ever bought, the Daniel Bryan shirt. So again, this show, of course, with how it went, meant a lot to me, and of course, getting to how the show ended up being was not easy. The card was supposed to be very different. This was right before CM Punk quit, and Batista got the terrible, reaction when he returned, because these were 3 matches that were supposed to take place in this card. CM Punk versus Triple H, which CM Punk didn't care if he won or whatnot. He still was mad about Triple H not putting him over back in 2011 when he came out of retirement, just to take all Punk's momentum, put it onto him versus Kevin Nash, and then Daniel Bryan was supposed to face Sheamus in like a 12-minute match, and the main event was supposed to be Randy Orton taking on Batista. But once again, CM Punk walked out on the company the day after the Royal Rumble, and for reasons that, if you haven't heard yet, listen to his podcast with Colt Cabana. Very awesome podcast. Literally, if I have nothing else to do, I put on that podcast, literally. That's literally my nothing to do thing. But then Batista didn't get the good reaction expected. So, again, who was Triple H going to wrestle, and how on earth were they supposed to have Batista and Randy Orton end the show, even though no one likes either one of them? Well, WWE ran into that problem again in 2016, didn't really solve that, but we'll get to that when we get to WrestleMania 32. But Daniel Bryan was a solution, and it would have been stupid not to go with the solution all along. You had the perfect storyline being built up from SummerSlam 2013 on to now, and you almost threw out the window for Daniel Bryan to face Sheamus? But it all worked out in the end. It all worked out, and I can say this is definitely one of the better WrestleManias of all time. And again, it will always be my favorite WrestleMania. So let's get right into WrestleMania 30. It took place on April 6, 2014 at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. It's the Superdome. I was thinking of what? Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. That's exactly what he said when Hulk Hogan had this opening promo to just, get everybody fired up for WrestleMania, as he did, in fact, accidentally say Silverdome instead of the Superdome. Of course, he cracked up about it, and everybody laughed about it. It's usually most fans are like, oh, he botched what, but people were cracking up about this botch. But then this segment was known for 3 of the biggest stars coming together in the ring at one time alone, as Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock also made their way to the ring, and they had fun making fun of Hogan's botch. But they just mentioned, all of these memories of WrestleMania and what to expect from tonight. Just a nice way to kick us off on a good note. Show respect for what all 3 of them had done in their legacies at WrestleMania as well. They toasted afterwards with a nice beer. Nobody got stunned though. This was actually the first WrestleMania for Hulk Hogan that he appeared at since WrestleMania 21, I believe. Yeah, WrestleMania 21. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I gotta say, 27, yeah, 27 for him whenever he was the special guest referee in that atrocious Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler match. Not going to talk about that again. I already read about that. And of course, The Rock was at WrestleMania last year and twice in a lifetime. So, but yeah, it was a cool moment. Start off the show. I remember enjoying it. Enjoyed just as much this time. On the pre-show, we did have a match. It was a fatal four-way match for the Tag Team Championship. It was with the Usos, the Real Americans, Ryback, forgot about that team, Ryback and Curtis Axel, and I believe Los Matadores, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I saw the whole match. I don't think I really did see this match. I know the Usos retained. I know that's where the Real Americans, Jack Swagger and Cesaro, broke up. Led to good things, though, tonight for Cesaro. This was a show that a lot of things felt like it was done right, for the most part. A couple little things that weren't, but again, this show, I can't really say too much of a bad thing about this show. But then we had the opening match, which again, even though I saw Brett and Owen go at each other, WrestleMania 10 open up WrestleMania, this is still a strong candidate for one of the best opening matches in WrestleMania history. Daniel Bryan taking on Triple H. The match stipulation was if Daniel Bryan won, then, whoever won would be added to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship triple threat match, the mega triple threat match against Batista and Orton in the main event. So, at first, it was now, again, the story of this, as we all know, Daniel Bryan was like, the hottest thing going on the previous summer. He did, of course, suffer his neck injury that required him to have surgery like about a month or two after this WrestleMania. But he let that go. He would eventually make his way to have a match against John Cena at SummerSlam, with people, of course, doubting, a lot of people, like, storyline-wise, were doubting that this is not a match the company wants, and doubting Daniel Bryan being the face of the company. Triple H, who, was stood up for Daniel Bryan, he was still to be the special guest referee after Brad Maddox was screwed over Daniel Bryan constantly in his matches. So it wasn't like Triple H was like, favoring Daniel Bryan, but he was showing that, hey, call us down the middle. He has a shot to win. He didn't just hand Bryan the championship. Bryan had a hard-fought victory in a SummerSlam Classic in 2013. When Randy Orton went to cash Money in the Bank, Triple H turned heel, and for the first time since 2006, I believe he was a heel, and caused Randy Orton to cash in. And again, that's when I instantly started getting hooked on the WWE. That's when I really started to catch on, because Daniel Bryan's rise to the top was what got me hooked on the WWE. He would go on to feud with Randy Orton. He won the title back at Night of Champions, but Scott Armstrong did a fast count, so Bryan was stripped of the title. Battleground, Big Show's interference, got no contest. Hell in a Cell. Triple H and HBK screwed him out. Well, Triple H screwed out Bryan before Bryan attacked Triple H, and HBK, stood up for his friend, caused Bryan to lose that match. But then Bryan would go on to feud with Bray Wyatt. Bryan was, of course, depressed and whatnot at the time, but then he finally, turned on Bray Wyatt. He would lose at the Royal Rumble, but he would get back into the title picture, the Elimination Chamber. Kane screwed him out there when he was corporate Kane, and then he just pushed Triple H over the edge of the Occupy Raw thing to get him to get a match with him at WrestleMania, and if he won, he would get added to the championship match, which at first was just that, but then after, Batista and Orton were arguing with Triple H said, I'm going to make the match that, I could be, when I win, I can be in the main event as well against the two guys who I want to be in the main event, but I'll prove that I'm the most powerful man in the world and whatnot. So, and of course, like the Raw before this WrestleMania, the Go Home episode, one of my favorite Go Home episodes of WrestleMania ever, especially with this ending segment. It was Batista and Orton taking on each other in the match, and just Triple H saying, this is exactly what I pictured this company being, whatnot. And Daniel Bryan returned after being attacked by Triple H, being handcuffed 2 weeks earlier. He returned, attacked Triple H. He, laid out Orton and Batista as well, but he just solely attacked Triple H. A very exciting go-home segment, showing that Daniel Bryan just won't go away, and this match was awesome. Also, I forgot to mention this, I think WrestleMania 27 was the first year Triple H started doing his, special entrances and stuff like that, and he did this here with that, just symbolizing, he is the most powerful man in the world, the King of Kings and whatnot. Coming out on a throne, he had three, women, which ended up being Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Alexa Bliss. Making his Game of Thrones entrance or whatever, came down to the ring. Daniel Bryan came out, of course, to all his yes chants, and as it was, Wrestlemania in the Superdome, brother. And the match was, again, really good, told a great story. It was a fantastic opener. Daniel Bryan had to, like, listen to Stephanie McMahon in his ear, just like, just bully him the whole time, just calling him a B-plus player, as he's been called for the past 8 months. Triple H trying to, just, target, his bad shoulder that Bryan had injured. It did not work, though. Bryan was, thrown into, like, barricades. The sledgehammer was not used in this match, but it was used later on tonight, though. And Triple H pretty much, like, thought he had Bryan in the palm of his hands. He hit him with the pedigree, but Bryan kicked out of the pedigree. It would eventually lead to Daniel Bryan, like, falling up, like, after being hit the pedigree again. I think it was after the pedigree or something else. He, like, did, like, a sunset flip over Triple H, hitting him with the running knee to get the victory. It would have been nice to see him get Triple H to tap out. It probably would have made Triple H even more pissed off, but Bryan won with the running knee, and after the match, Stephanie was angry, gone to there, because there was no stopping Daniel Bryan this time. She slapped Daniel Bryan across the face, Triple H tagged from behind, and then, rammed his shoulder into the post, and even hit him with a steel chair to hurt him even further, so he would not be able to win the title later on that night. And they just mock Daniel Bryan, say no happy ending, whatever, this movement has got to die. But they refused to make him face the coming. But Daniel Bryan did not quit. Did he win the title? We'll find out later on in this review. So the next match we had was Kane and New Age Outlaws taking on The Shield. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, this is just a squash match, kind of skippable. But to me, even though like the year before, The Shield faced off like a match, I felt like it would just be a match on Raw. This match did its job. Because at this time, The Shield were just turned face. They were, next to Daniel Bryan, they were the next hottest thing probably in the company. They've beaten almost everybody. What better way to make them more powerful for WrestleMania than just take out, a legendary tag team and a future Hall of Famer in Kane, even though it was Corporate Kane. I could stand Corporate Kane. To squash him in less than 3 minutes. They just went in there, they just killed them. Like, the Outlaws and Kane had no chance at all. Squashed him, they get the win. Again, that's the most, it did its job. So, not mad at all about this match. Then we had the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now, it was supposed to be a 30-man Battle Royal, but it turned out being 31 because Cesaro inserted himself into the match at the last second. And this is by far my favorite Battle Royal because someone good actually won. Well, so WrestleMania 32, but that one wasn't as exciting as this one. This one was very exciting. We had a lot of good, people in this Battle Royal. Big Show was the favorite to win. I remember at the time thinking Big Show was going to win. It's like, this is a match meant for Big Show to win. But then when I saw Cesaro in the match, he had just split up from Jack Swagger earlier on that night. And, we had Great Khali in there. Mark Henry. We had 3MB in there. We had Sheamus. I think Del Rio was in there. Rey Mysterio. I know one time he begged off Big Show not to throw him out, which Big Show didn't do it. But then, where it ended up being, I remember, getting down to the last 10, I'm thinking, geez, it'd be nice to see if Cesaro got this. Because I had been seeing Cesaro getting somewhat singles action. He was in the Elimination Chamber match that year for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And then Cesaro won the match by picking up the Big Show, showing off his strength, and throwing him out of the ring. And I remember we were all happy. Big Show at the end, afterwards, showed a sign of respect, shook Cesaro's hand, congratulating him, and Cesaro wins the first ever Andre Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I'm like, this is excellent. This is, establishing a new star, giving him a WrestleMania moment, and it felt like a WrestleMania moment. It didn't feel like it was just a flat, got handed to him. It was like he actually worked for it. Unfortunately, though, they kept him heel, though, as I felt they should have kept the next match at Extreme Rules just between Swagger and Cesaro, but they put RVD in there and they made Cesaro, which I didn't mind making Cesaro a Paul Heyman guy, but I didn't like how they kept him heel. They should have turned him babyface, but they didn't. They kept him heel, and he would kind of go down the tubes and get lost in the shuffle. He did have a couple of U.S. title matches against Sheamus throughout the year, but he never won the title, unfortunately, which Sheamus' U.S. title run was very flat. As he won that off of Dean Ambrose in a Battle Royal, not too long after WrestleMania. I heard they were going to turn Sheamus heel after WrestleMania, but that didn't happen. It happened next year after WrestleMania 31 when he returned from another injury. But yeah, I was happy Cesaro won. Wish they would have pushed him further, because again, by now he should have had a world title opportunity. He could have faced Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam that year for that year, for all I care. Because that would have been a good match. Two Paul Heyman guys going at it, but then they pulled the plug on the Paul Heyman thing, and Cesaro is, had some success, but definitely not as high as he definitely should be. But congratulations to Cesaro for the Andre Giant Royal Battle Royal. We had this match. Now, as I said earlier on, this just should have felt like a lot of things felt they made the right decision for the most part. Now, this match, despite it being good, wasn't happy with the outcome, though. This match, it was John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt. This is Bray Wyatt's first WrestleMania match. The story, Bray Wyatt is trying to prove that John Cena is a complete fraud and he's a liar or whatnot, and John Cena's trying to fight for his legacy. And for the first time, John Cena seems really affected by Bray Wyatt's mind games. And throughout this match, it was played out very well. Cena was always looking around. He was trying to bring out that monster in Cena, and Cena was teasing more vicious, meaner side of him a few times in the match. He even went as far as barricading Luke Harper through not really spear, but just running Luke Harper through a barricade. Wyatt handed Cena chairs, telling him to hit him, but then instead he just hit Eric Rowan, who is on the other side of the ring. Again, it was a very solid, really good, hard-hitting match. Probably Bray Wyatt's best WrestleMania match, I'd say. But Bray Wyatt lost. It was the first time Bray Wyatt ever lost a match on the main roster, and this was beginning the slow fall of Bray Wyatt to becoming the eater of pins that he is today, unfortunately. John Cena buried him. He literally buried him because Bray Wyatt won Extreme Rules in a steel cage match, but after distraction of a young child singing that he's got the whole world in his hands with a sheet mask at the exit. And, Bray Wyatt was able to hit Sister Abigail and Cena was a distraction, and he escaped the cage, and then he would lose him in the last man standing match. Now, you think about it, though. Bray Wyatt, though, has won his fair share of feuds. I mean, he won his feud with when we think here. Because when he came to the main roster, he, beat Kane at SummerSlam. He beat Kofi Kingston. He won his feud with Daniel Bryan. He lost to Cena. Won the feud with Jericho. Then Ambrose thing was next. But then the Undertaker, he lost that match. What was the feud in 2015? I'm trying to remember. Oh, Ryback, he won that match, but that was a one-off match. Then he feud with Roman Reigns, lost that feud. Then just got lost in the shuffle completely. Was doing all right on SmackDown with the Randy Orton stuff, but then that went downhill. So yeah, this was the beginning of Bray Wyatt's downroll spiral. But I gotta give credit. It was still an awesome match. Bray Wyatt's best match at WrestleMania by far. Just wish he would have won the match. Because he really got Cena go with his mind games. The reaction that Cena had when he turned around to Bray Wyatt in his spider walk, he literally was hopped halfway across. Right? It looked like Cena had been hit with a stun or something like that. Because he was stunned big time. Cena wins though, but again, Bray Wyatt had a good showing as well. Then we have this match. Ooh, my goodness. I will not, again, for me only being a WWE fan for about a year when this happens, I still felt the effects of this match, and I will not forget the reaction at my friend Daniel Guys' house when this happened. WrestleMania Streak Match 22. Undertaker winning this 21-0, taking on the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. The match itself, the build, wasn't really that good. The match, kind of average. Taker looked really out of shape in this match. He looked like he had not worked out in so long. He looked like he had been, sunburned. He looked old. He looked tired. He didn't look good in this match. He kicked out of 2 F5s from Lesnar. I think Taker only hit him with 1 tombstone, but Brock dominated this match for the most part. Taker had his moments. It's not like he completely got squashed by him, but Brock was definitely the more dominating one. Taker just did not look healthy at all in this match. And the ending, the third F5, I will never forget it. 1, 2, 3. When the referee hit the third time, for a second, I felt, oh yeah, he kicked out. No, he didn't. Of course, here Michael Cole to say, the streak is over. Not go nuts at all. Terrible call right there. But literally, there was no music played at all. We were all in shock at the house. So all the crowd reactions, especially, what was the guy's name? The one guy who was wearing the beard is here shirt, whatever. His reaction is the most famous one. But yeah, the streak ended. Taker lost. Again, he did not look good at all in this match at all. He looked very unhealthy. I felt this could have been it for him. But again, as just being a fan for just a year, I even felt the effects of this match. I'm like, No, he didn't. That didn't happen. No. What? What? Like, you can hear a pin drop. That's how quiet it was in the Superdome and even back at the house as well. Brock Lesnar wins this matchup. Now, I remember hearing rumors, though, that Brock Lesnar was not supposed to win this match. I heard rumors at first. But that was just, a hoax. People were spreading those rumors as Brock, Taker was cool with Brock and the streak. Think about it. Women all right, because Brock hadn't really done much in WWE yet, but I feel like I would rather have had CM Punk be the one to end the streak at WrestleMania 29. The streak had reached 20 wins. Like, what was the point of it reaching 21? And Punk coming off his amazing title run, would have been able to keep some momentum for Punk going if he would have beat Taker at WrestleMania 29, even though I felt he should have been in the main event, making it a triple threat match between him, Rock, and Cena. Again, as Punk would say, make it an elimination match, have someone pin him in 5 minutes. He doesn't care. He would have been happy to be in the main event. But, again, it was Brock Lesnar. I still will not forget the reaction to this day. How quiet it was, and at first when it happened, where it's like, no, he kicked out. He really didn't. Wow, he actually lost. And I keep saying about how Asuka's first loss needs to mean something. Despite the fact that the match wasn't really that great, it wasn't really the best choice to defeat the streak, the reaction that they got for this loss was exactly what it needed to be. Afterwards, Taker walked up the ramp, didn't even bother to do his arm raise or whatever. Rumors have it he apparently did go to the hospital when he went backstage. He passed out from a concussion, and Vince left that night, and that was good because it helped the commentary become a lot better after this. But the crowd was dead, and let me tell you something: if this WrestleMania would have been the main event between Orton and Batista, CM Punk versus Triple H, and Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, this could have been a really sad and terrible show. But it didn't happen. But we got one more match we gotta get through before we get to that amazing main event. The WWE Divas Championship Vicky Guerrero Invitational, whatever the heck it's called. It was AJ Lee, the champion, who had been champion for 294 days at this time, Oksana, Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, Cameron, Emma, before she was evil Emma, she was doing the Eva Marie, what? Layla, Naomi, Natalia, Nikki Bella, Rosa Mendez, Summer Rae, and Tamina. I think it was a 14-person battle. Well, it wasn't a battle royal, but it was like an invitational. The first person to get pinned got the win. This was the first time, I believe, since WrestleMania 23, I think, where the Divas Championship was actually defended, or any women's title was defended. 29 didn't even get a single Divas match on the card at all. We were supposed to have that mixed tag match, but got canceled. This was average. It wasn't really terrible, but it just seemed like a little bit of a cluster crap or whatever. It just didn't really mesh too well to me. It just, again, just symbolized what, women's wrestling was back then. A joke. The cruiserweight division today, pretty much. No one really cared. AJ did retain. She would drop the title the following night on Raw, though, when Paige made her surprising main roster debut and defeated AJ in an impromptu match to win the title. That's where AJ would, take a couple months off because that's when her and Punk got married. This was right after Punk walked out on WWE. Her and Punk got married. They came back. Her and Paige had a good feud. One of the better women's feuds I've seen yet. But they could have gone a lot further with that feud. If it was for a women's title, it's probably could have been another Sasha and Charlotte feud that we got. Except hopefully not dragged on as long, because this feud actually did end at Hell in a Cell that year. But again, matches average and whatnot. Alright, now we get to it. The main event. A triple threat match. No countouts, no disqualifications at all. The triple threat main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It was the champion, Randy Orton, taking on Batista and Daniel Bryan. This match was awesome. What can I say? The drama on this match, the emotion and whatnot. I was, I was on my feet the whole time for this match, just dying as Daniel Bryan's one of his biggest fans. I'm not going to be the guy who says I'm Daniel Bryan's #1 fan. One of his biggest fans. I was just dying to see Daniel Bryan finally have that WrestleMania moment, overcome the Authority, and go up against two guys that the Authority, storyline-wise, wanted to see, be the guys headlining their company. Saying this is what we're talking about here, and keep Daniel Bryan out of the title picture because he's not good enough to then. I have hair in my mouth. This match was awesome. I mean, it may not have been like a bloodbath or anything, but it is a classic because of the storytelling. Daniel Bryan was handling them pretty well despite his shoulder being injured. Triple H made it worse after their match to open up the show. Triple H and Stephanie came out the ringside during the match to try to, get Daniel Bryan out of the match, and it even brought along Scott Armstrong, that referee who screwed Daniel Bryan back at Night of Champions by saying that Daniel told him to do a fast count, which did not happen at all. But then, Daniel was able to, take out Armstrong. He also did one of his suicide dives into the Authority. I believe he didn't make full contact, but he knocked over Triple H, Armstrong, and Stephanie McMahon. This is where Triple H pulled out the sledgehammer, trying to use it on Bryan, but Bryan was able to knock it out of his hands and hit Triple H with the sledgehammer to eliminate him from the picture. But then Randy Orton and Batista tried taking out Daniel Bryan with a Batista bomb to an RKO on the announce table. Daniel Bryan's being stretched out, and I honestly felt that was it. I'm like, that's it. Daniel Bryan's done. I'm like, just give it to Batista, whatever. He'll stop whining and whatever about saying that, he deserves to be the champion just because. So, just give it to him, whatever. I was just tired of seeing the title on Randy Orton at the time. But then Daniel Bryan would, break free from the stretcher, get back in the match, and despite the time where I thought Orton won with hitting an RKO on Batista. Batista kicked out. But, you can tell, when Batista and Orton were fighting, it was like, okay, what we don't want to see with Daniel Bryan came in, like, oh, this is what we want to see. That's the drama that happened. There's a couple times where, one would hit the finisher on the other, but then the other person would push him out of the way and try to pin him for a victory. Wouldn't happen. Until the end, though, I think, Batista did hit a Batista bomb on Orton, but then Bryan did hit a running knee on Batista, and then he put him in the yes lock and got Batista to tap out, which I'm glad he got Batista to do it because Bryan had already proved to me that he could beat Randy Orton. He already beat him a couple times throughout the year, and then, he didn't beat Batista yet, and he got Batista to tap out for Daniel Bryan to get the biggest victory of his career and overcome all the odds. They threw everything at Daniel Bryan's match. They did everything they could to stop him from winning that title because they knew he could, but they didn't want him to be representing their company because of his appearance and whatnot and who he was. Saying you're good, you're a B+, but you're not the guy we want. He beat Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton. Pretty much almost all the members of Evolution, with the exception of Ric Flair, of course. But yeah, he beat them all in one night, overcame the Authority, wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship right in his rightful place. He got to celebrate with his sister and his little niece Hayden in the ring afterwards as the confetti was coming down. They didn't show it on the actual WrestleMania show, but they also was when as when Connor was terminally ill, he gave Connor a hug and thanked him for everything, told him to keep fighting. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, when he came back from his honeymoon, after he married Bree the Friday after WrestleMania, they went on their honeymoon in Hawaii. He got back and Bryan's father passed away, and then 2 days later, Connor passed away. And then that's when he had the neck surgery also, so everything just went downhill for Daniel Bryan afterwards, but you can't take away the WrestleMania moment. The only thing that did not happen in this match that I was hoping would happen is CM Punk would return. That did not happen though, but this match was perfect. Everything, the storytelling and everything, it didn't need to have weapons or a bloodbath and anything like that. Just the storytelling, the Authority trying one last time to stop Daniel Bryan from getting his moment of glory that they didn't want him to have. And they can't take this moment away from him. The WWE did not want to give Daniel Bryan this moment, but they can't take this away from him. That's what they make fun of him for whatsoever, because he wasn't the guy that they wanted him to be. Daniel Bryan will always be my favorite wrestler of all time, and the reason why I started to watch the WWE. Again, I love the show. I could talk about the show for hours. By far my favorite WrestleMania. Wasn't the best one of all time, but one of the better ones. That's why I gotta say, despite that Divas match and the Taker Lesnar match being all right, but the streak ending, but the storytelling this WrestleMania was awesome. I gotta give WrestleMania an A-, for this WrestleMania. What grade would you give WrestleMania 30? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to click that like, subscribe, more content on this channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. I'll get to WrestleMania 31 as I hope to wrap up the last 3 WrestleManias this coming week, and move on to other things for this channel. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I'll catch you next in my WrestleMania 31 review or in my SmackDown Live review tomorrow night. Until then, guys, have a good night.